House of the Dragons, which is the spinoff of the Game of Thrones show. It is a prequel set a couple of 100 years before the events of A Song on Ice and Fire, as we know of the Game of Thrones show. Like I said, this opened to a huge audience, millions of viewers. It's like it was one of HBO's hugest premieres, I think. When it came out, when the first episode came out, which was pretty impressive, and then it also topped the ratings for the second episode as well. And I think the general response to this series has been, now that season 1 is done, is that a lot of people love it. A lot of people think it's one of the best shows of the year. A lot of people think about it, been talking about it very favorably. And with this series, it's focused on the Targaryen dynasty. You see that it's kind of going to be chronicling the events of what is known as the Dance of Dragons. The Dance of Dragons, which was an event in the series of books, which officially, I think the book name for it is, what is it? Fire and Blood, I believe is the name of it in the books. The series of books,
I believe that, yeah, that is the name of the books that the show is based on, Fire and Blood.
Yeah. Which Fire and Blood, like I said, about the Targaryen dynasty. And here you have, it's chronicling the Targaryen Civil War, where it's Team Greens versus Team Blacks, where you have on the Team Blacks, that sounds kind of offensive, where you have the Team Blacks, where you have Rhaenyra Targaryen, who is the daughter of the king that we first see in this season, who we first see on the throne, Viserys, who's played by Paddy Considine, who he named her, since at the time, you see there in the first few episodes, that he did not have a male heir, so he named his daughter heir of the Iron Throne, which the Iron Throne is basically the main thing in this show, which everybody's trying to get, everybody's trying to be in close proximity to. It is the nexus of all the power, and the entire Westeros Game of Thrones universe is the Iron Throne. So he named her the heir, and that caused obviously a lot of complications, her being a woman and all, and usually women in this place in society did not have a high role, or was valued really for much else than being wives and childbearers. That was about it. So you see kind of throughout this series, the tension that's there of her, her being the heir, as well as, Viserys, who's trying to do his best to keep the kingdom together with all these kind of different issues. And what's not helping is having his brother, Daemon Targaryen, who's played by Matt Smith, who's absolutely just kind of a lot fucking that shit up with, kind of him being very brash and arrogant. So what were some of your thoughts on this series, and how did you like it?
Well, I think everybody watching this first episode was kind of going into it with a bit of hesitation because of the way that Game of Thrones ended. It had this incredible run of 5, people would argue even 6 seasons of excellent top tier prestige television. And then towards the end of the show, it would forget what got them to the dance. It was the incredible dialogue. It was the constant backstabbing between characters. It was the insanely well-written and deep performances done by an incredible cast. One of the best ensembles on cable television. And it became more about the spectacle towards the end of the series. And here, I think we have George R.R. Martin is much more heavily involved in the production of this. He's executive producer on the show and is still in the room. This is created and showrun by 2 directors from Game of Thrones. It was Ryan Condal and Miguel Sapochnik, who directed a lot of people's favorite episodes. Sapochnik directed Battle of the Bastards, and it's based on material that's already finished. And something that is really well done is the show at its peak. It reminds me so much of Game of Thrones when it was in its heyday. Just the constant political intrigue that is way more fascinating than the spectacle with like the battles, with seeing the dragons flying. And even that is awesome when it's done well.
Yeah. And there are a lot of dragons in this because this is like peak time where you have a lot of Targaryens and you have a lot of dragons. And you're going to see a lot of dragon battles in the upcoming future of this show if you know the
Hmm.
story of the Dance Dragons and the Fire and Blood if you've kind of read the books. So you're going to see a lot of great dragon battles, kind of coming up. And this show is not going to be as long as Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones was 8 seasons, and George R. R. Martin really wanted to be 10 or 11 seasons.
Hmm.
This
Yeah,
is
he wanted 10 to 11 10 episode season.
Yeah, this is only going to be 4 seasons, so it's not going to be a
Okay.
long eight season show. They kind of said that it's going to kind of be between 3 and 4 seasons, which I think is good. That you
Hmm.
know what when to get in, get out, and I think that that's good
And
that you
al-
have a plan.
mhm.
And
and
I think
also this first season basically covers like 20 years of history.
Yeah, which I'm gonna ask you about. I asked your opinion about it before about the time jumps, and I'm gonna ask you about that in a little bit.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, and then I think the also to alleviate some people's fears of like this is gonna turn into another Game of Thrones. These books are already done. I mean, it's a prequel, so I mean, the kind of this has already been written out and everything like that, so you don't have to worry about them trying to come up with an ending and rush to an ending. For the series, this it's already done already. So yeah, I mean, you mentioned it covers 20 years of history that you see here. So you see in the first episode, it deals with a teenager, Rhaenyra and Alicent, who you see who's her best friend. And it's interesting to hear the two actors who play the younger versions of the character because you have Amelia Ilcott, who played the younger Rhaenyra, and then Alcott, who played Rhaenyra, and then Emma Darcy, who played the older Rhaenyra there. And then you had Olivia Cook, who plays the older Alicent, and then Amelia Carey, who plays the younger Alicent. It's interesting to hear about their perspective on their relationship, Amelia Alcott and
Hmm.
Alcock and Amelia Carey, to hear about their relationship because they kind of described it as they kind of read it as something being very more queer, that they kind of maybe had feelings for each other a little bit, and that kind of being such a pivotal, important relationship in a young woman's life, that best friend, that best girlfriend that's there for you. Did you kind of, see a little bit of that, kind of, when they were kind of in their younger versions at all?
Huh. Well, I'd have to rewatch this season from the start because I really didn't pick up on any of that. It felt more like just the bonds between young women because I think at the time when we first see them, Millie Alcott and Emily Carey, they're playing Rhaenyra and Allison basically at like 16 or 15.
Yeah. So yeah, that was kind of interesting. And then the creators of the show also described, them as like, Rhaenyra is punk rock, and then Alicent is a Trump supporter, which I don't really get that from the really the show all that much. But that's kind of how I don't know what that is exactly supposed to mean. Punk rock. I don't know what that exactly is supposed to mean. Or
I think they say that because when we first meet Rhaenyra, she's a little more rebellious. She is somebody that is kind of going against the grain, but as the show progresses, she kind of acquiesces to this whole position that she is put in, and this seat of power that she is being groomed for.
yeah. So yeah, I think you do kind of see that a little bit there. She kind of just kind of gets a little bit kind of beaten down a little bit by the kind of the system. So you kind of see that. Then we already mentioned Paddock Constantine, who's a Considine, I'm sorry, who's Viserys. He's the king there that we run into in the very first season. Then you have his brother, who's Damon. We already mentioned Matt Smith. We're going to be getting a little bit more into depth in those characters. But just to talk about somebody else in the cast who we see, we have Fabian Frankel who plays Sir Kristen. He's kind of like your Sir Friendzone of this series, basically to replace there. So Sir Simp. You kind of have him there. I thought he did a very good job. I think some of the issues kind of with the time jumps is you have kind of
Mhm.
big events, I think, with some characters,
Mhm.
but because of the time skips, you really don't get to fully kind of delve into it too much. I think and with the Sir Kristen character, like he killed somebody, that was just in front of everybody, and it just seemed like, I mean, you don't really know what the repercussions of that was or how he kind of got out of that situation fully. So I think that,
Because the context of that situation, the squire that he murders was working for Rhaenyra's new husband because it was at their wedding, and this motherfucker thought that, you know what, I love her, let's run away together, and that whole scene of Rhaenyra's just, bitch, I am heir to the throne. Why would I do that?
yeah,
Yeah, dude clapped cheeks one time and spent the next 10 years of his life being butthurt about it.
yeah, he's basically one of
To
those.
to
Oh,
to an almost hilarious level.
yeah, I mean, he's one of those dudes that made getting rejected by a girl in high school like his whole personality, basically. Yeah. He's one of those characters also, like during the time jump, that you don't really see age all that much. Like you see characters like dramatically. I mean, they'll recast whole actors. I mean, there's like some gray in his hair, but it's like like you see all these actors who get recast, but you have people like Matt, Matt Smith is Damon, and then him, and then it's like they look exactly the same as they did during the first episode, even though there's supposed to be a lot of these jumps in time. And then sometimes I think they would get it pretty spot on. I think a lot of with the time jumps and recasting these different actors, 'cause they do it twice. They do it like two times, with the teenager, then the kind of young adult, and then the adult phase. They kind of do it. They do that especially when they have kids. Rhaenyra and then Allison. I thought they did a good job at like Emma Darcy. I thought that they did look like an older version of Millie Alcott. I thought that was pretty good. I thought the Olivia Cook for the older version looked also pretty good. I thought she matched her younger actress pretty well. I thought that was pretty good. I thought that the dude they got to play the older version of the Valerian guy who was married to Rhaenyra. I didn't think that dude didn't look he didn't look anything like that guy. I was like, they don't look anything like they did not.
It's not a great match, but I imagine I imagine because that character serves such a, it isn't really a big part of the series after like the 6th or 7th episode. So a priority was probably not on getting someone that looked exactly like his younger counterpart.
Yeah. But I mean, you got the main people, which is, I guess that's important. You really got the main people. And that dude, he's the smartest person in Game of Thrones history, because he was just like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm getting out. He left. He jumped on the boat. He's like, fuck this. He's the smartest person
Fuck all this
in Game of Thrones history. Like, he just was like, I'm
Hey,
leaving.
the Game of Thrones is like gambling. The only way to win is not to play.
Yeah, I mean, he made the smartest decision. He was just like, I'm done with this shit. Like, I'm getting out. I'm not dealing with this shit anymore. So yeah, I absolutely loved that. What was his name? It was
I think it was a Laenor Valerian.
Laenor Valerian. Yeah. And also some of the wigs I thought they had on the black people did not really look all that good. I thought they did not look the best. Some of the wigs they have.
I mean, it's not like Tyler Perry. It's not like Tyler Perry wig or Woody Harrelson at the post-credit scene of Venom looking bad.
True.
They all looked fine for the most part.
Yeah, yeah. I just think, they weren't. I just thought they weren't the strongest there, but that's not a major complaint.
And also think like Valyrian blood. The hair is meant to kind of look unnatural. So
okay.
it also works in that way.
Yeah, and then you have the Valerians who, I like them. I just think, like I said, the time jumps. Like when you have the younger Valerians, like you have the daughter and the son there that you see at first of Corlys and Rhaenys Valerian. It's like, you see, because she goes through, the younger daughter, she goes through periods as well where she's like a young girl, then she's like a teenager, then she's like an adult, the full adult, where she becomes married to Daemon. It's just like, and then when you see her as an adult only for one episode and then she dies, it's like, it's kind of dramatic, you know what I mean? It's like, damn, you wish maybe you could spend some more time with her, especially when you learn that when you first see her, she's riding the at this time the Westeros' biggest dragon, and that's a pretty great moment. So yeah, that was kind of I think, yeah, some things you kind of miss out on, when you're doing kind of the time jumps. I think. What do you think about the Valerians in this?
The Valerians, I thought all of them were very well acted. I think the most interesting one was hold up, it's pulling it up right now. Was Rhaenyra's husband, who very similar to other characters seen in Game of Thrones is a gay man, and they kind of like have their own little arrangement, which I think is a really interesting dynamic. Rhaenys and excuse me, the one who eventually, Lena, excuse me, Lena Valerian, who they eventually marry Daemon. They have a really interesting dynamic, and it kind of seems like it's something. It's dynamic that's meant to mimic the choice that Viserys had to make. One where it's like, am I going to risk my wife to save a child? And Daemon does the opposite, which I think is really interesting.
Yeah. Which the birthing scenes in this show, horrible. And I don't mean horrible in like it's bad or badly shot or anything. I mean horrible in the sense that it is gross. It is
It's
absolutely
horrific.
gut wrenching to watch. I mean, to watch these birthing scenes, and it's like they kind of like outdid each other almost. Like every time showing a new birthing scene, it's like how more, to me, awful can it really get? And then during this final episode with Rhaenyra with her birthing scene, that was especially like, oh my god, like that was just especially awful, in every way possible. Yeah. Like you mentioned, like with the Valerians, I really like Corlys, who's the patriarch of the family. I thought that actor, what's his name here? Let me try to see if I can pull up his name. I thought he did a very good job. He's really the main Valerian that you see really throughout the series. Him and Rhaenys. Corlys, who is on the council of the king, because he's the lord over Driftmark, and then he has the largest ships and everything like that. So he really controls that. He's got the largest fleet of ships. I really liked his character in the dynamic with his character in Rhaenys, because Rhaenys is the queen that never was. She was the one that was the direct descendant of the king before Viserys, who was Jaehaerys, right? That was the king before Viserys.
Yeah, Jaehaerys Targaryen. Jaehaerys Targaryen. He didn't have any children of his own, so it was between Viserys the First, which is Paddy Considine, and excuse me, and Rhaenys Targaryen, who technically had the better claim because she was the older heir, but she's a woman, and we can't have that now, can we?
Yeah. So she gets labeled as the queen that never was. And it's just like, with the Corlys character, you really understand how much like the throne is like it's almost like the ring from like Lord of the Rings, where it's just like people are so thirsty for that throne, especially him. It's just like he's constantly talking to her about it, and you know what I mean, about like, it should have been you should have been on the Iron Throne, it should have been you. And she's like, Jesus, will you shut the fuck up about that Iron Throne? Like, damn, like it's over. Like it's like that was years ago. I kind of gotten over it now. You know what I mean? Like she's kind of moved on. He's still talking about it.
And something that is really fascinating, it's like all the characters around all of the potential female heirs that are way more horny for that throne than they are. It's like even like towards the end of the show when Rhaenyra and Daemon are married now, he's the one that's more aching and more lusting for that power of that throne. When Rhaenyra is kind of like, well, you know what? Maybe these terms aren't so bad.
Yeah, and then you also see that with Otto Hightower, the father of Alicent. Like, you know what I mean? She's trying to kind of be reasonable too. And then, as soon as Viserys died, they already coming up with a plan. So, okay, so the mission is a go, right? We good, right? Ghost Protocol 6 is a go, right? It's like, well, hold on. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, you know what I mean? And yeah, I mean, he's ready to kill everybody, and that it's a possible threat to it. So, and, especially what Otto Hightower did of, basically pimping out his daughter to Viserys, and, after his wife died, especially kind of creepy there too. And in Game of Thrones fashion, it's a show that will make you root for a guy that goes like, hey, this is disgusting. Don't marry the 12-year-old. Marry the 15-year-old instead. That's a much better decision. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean?
Hey,
Like,
at least the 15-year-old, at least the 15-year-old is played by a 20-year-old actor.
yeah, I guess it's like, what I mean? It's like, hey, that's Game of Thrones for you. It'll make you root for people.
Yeah, the morals on the show are kind of messy. They're messy at best.
Yeah. I mean, who do you think is the most morally upright character here in this show?
Shit, it's the character that I think had the worst fate, and it was Viserys. I mean, think about like his entire reign. It was like no war. It was peacetime, besides a couple little skirmishes that Damon was able to solve. But it's because Viserys is so good natured, and that's why he gets it bad during this entire show. Because very much like George R. R. Martin did in Game of Thrones, the good people don't survive long here.
Yeah. And throughout his whole progression of the show, you see it's kind of like a metaphor for, kind of what's going to happen of his body's just rotting. And I like the way they changed the Iron Throne in this series because it's more reflective of what the book, the way the Iron Throne looks in the book, because it's all these different swords that sprawl out, you know what I mean, instead of just the way it was in Game of Thrones, because they didn't have the budget to do it in Game of Thrones. And another thing they didn't have the budget to do in Game of Thrones that they did better here was the hunt that they did in this season. But yeah, and then you see kind of he's just rotting away, you know what I mean, and every kind
to
of
the point. Yeah, to the point in the one of the penultimate episodes, he's basically a walking corpse.
yeah. I mean, you just see him. It's just like Jesus Christ. I mean, especially when he takes off his mask. You know what I mean? It's just like he's just rotting. You know what I mean? Like a zombie almost. You know what I mean? I mean, yeah. I mean, I think even a zombie would go fuck, dude. You know what I mean? Like Jesus Christ. But yeah, he did. I mean, he really knocked it out of the park. I thought he did a great job, and even George R. R. Martin said that he did a better Viserys than he wrote in the books. Yeah, George R. R. Martin said that, which was
because I think because from what I've heard about the books, Viserys in there was kind of just this very very naive, very selfish, very frankly dumb person. And Paddy Considine's version is all of those things, but he just has this charm and this screen presence where you still like his Viserys, even in spite of all of that, even in spite of all the boneheaded decisions that he makes.
Yeah, because he really does love his daughter. He loves Rhaenyra a lot, and he, really, wants to protect her and wants to look out for her. And I mean, you really get that through it, through their kind of interactions together. Even when he's even at his most frustrated with her, I mean, he still, you see, he still really loves her. And you see kind of, also his relationship with Allison when he begins to marry her, and then they have children together. You kind of see how that kind of dynamic is. That's kind of interesting as well, because you see that, especially, marrying her for the purpose of, having a male heir, basically, because everybody's looking at it as like, well, you need to remarry. I mean, everybody's pressuring him to get married again, which I don't know why it has to be so.
And Otto Hightower is just like, yeah, so his wife just died. So Alicent, go up to his chamber, bring him this book. Make sure to wear that dress.
I mean, yeah, creepy. Yeah.
Ooh.
Which I don't know, like if you're the king, like you can't go any further outside of, you know what I mean? Just like you're small, it has to be the your best friend's daughter. Like, you can't go any further out. Like, like set up like, some speed dating or something like that. Like, do like a little bit of a, like get the most eligible bachelorettes out there, like do a rotation or anything like that. You can't do anything like that. Okay.
Well, you had to think that that he is the king, and he's like one of the last of the Targaryens to like reproduce and create more heirs. So it was basically all political moves, which is what marriage was back then.
Yeah. And important to join it with another noble family. That kind of begs, with Allison character, like I said, the creators of the show kind of labeled her as like she's like the Trump supporter there, which I kind of I don't really see because I kind of get her reasoning,
Mm,
especially like you see
mhm,
the friendship between Allison and Rhaenyra kind of fracture as the series goes on, especially becomes fractured when she marries her father. Um,
mhm.
and you kind of see that. I just think that, and also I get Allison's disapproval of what Rhaenyra is doing because she's kind of moving with, just kind of moving around, not really considering anything. While she's always been told
Mhm.
like, this is what you got to do, listen to what I'm saying, and you do it, and she's done it. Yes,
Yeah,
I feel for
I
her.
didn't read it. I didn't read it so much as this Trump supporter comparison. Which how did you come up with that? I read it more as just envy because Rhaenyra, throughout their entire like young adulthood, she's kind of been able to like make her own just choices about who to marry, about who she's been able to love. Whereas Allison, it feels more like she's resentful because she's been manipulated by her father into taking on this role when she really didn't want to. There's even like a sex scene between Emily Carey and Patty Considine's like sore and scarred covered body that is like the most uncomfortable thing I've ever witnessed.
Mm, yeah. I mean, she's kind of just had to accept the role she's kind of had and try to play as best she can,
Mm-hmm.
the cards that she's dealt with. But then, looking at, like you said, envy of looking at Rhaenyra, who can just basically, she just does, seems like whatever she wants. Especially, it grows even more because as they get older, when you see the older version, and then she has her, kind of sham marriage with the Valerian guy who, is gay. Basically, like you said,
Mm-hmm.
it was like a contract. It's like, listen, I need to get married. You do your thing, I do my thing. And then she ends up having three bastard kids with the knight.
Mm-hmm.
His name was Sir Strong, and it's just like you see like especially having kids with this other guy. It's like, come on now. I mean, look at these kids. Look at the dad. Look at these kids. Look at the dad.
It's
Like everybody with eyes can see that these are not his kids. Like, come on now. It's not even close. Like, it's like, geez, you
yeah,
couldn't.
and yeah, and as vile as a lot of Allison's actions are, she's not really wrong.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I mean, she's really. I mean, it's like it is. I guess she does have a point. It is disrespectful. I mean, you had three kids by this dude. You know what I mean? And like everybody can clearly see that it's these are not his kids. And then her inviting her up right after she gives birth. Her demanding to see the baby. And
It's like the umbilical cord's not even cut yet.
and I like that little jab that she had at him. She was like, "Well, hey, maybe one day one of them look like you." Like I was like, that was I thought,
and and what what is just so many layers to both Cook and Darcy's performance is because Rhaenyra, she's stubborn, so she insists on carrying the baby to see Allison, and there's like a moment of like concern that flashes in Olivia Cook's eyes right before it goes back to the usual petty shit.
mm, yeah. And then so she has the three kids. It's Jaharis, it's Luke, and it's who's the other? What's the other kid's name?
Oh, they named the third one Joffrey
Joffrey.
after after the squire that got brutally murdered on their wedding day.
Ah, okay, yeah. So Joffrey, yeah. So then Joffrey, and then you see that she has those kids. Then Sir Strong ends up getting killed by a character we haven't mentioned by assassination. Him and then his father get killed by I think that was their younger brother, the one with the club foot.
Yeah, it was their younger brother. Uh, I cannot
Uh,
find anybody's name in this.
uh,
There's so many characters; it's hard to keep track of
yeah,
names.
Sir Feet, Sir Tarantino.
Sir Foot, Sir Tarantino. Yeah, that's pretty much it, Sir Tarantino.
Um,
Because yeah, he eventually gets some feet pics.
yeah. You see that he's kind of basically, I guess you would say the little finger of the show. Basically, I guess you would.
I think he's the closest thing to a little finger on this show because you could draw those comparisons to Otto Hightower, but I get the sense that with Otto, at least there's this like self justification of I'm doing what's best for the realm. With
Yeah,
this other guy, it's like, nah, fuck the realm.
yeah. Matthew Nadeem, is he plays Laris Strong, that you see here. Yeah. And he's the one whispering in Allison's ear, spreading those, kind of, telling her all these little things. And he ends up, yeah.
Getting his payment in feet pics.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Yeah, he's hey, OnlyFans before OnlyFans, he got it up close. Yeah, doing his thing. So yeah, and that was also another extremely kind of weird moment in the show of kind of where that goes. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, so I do like his performance there a lot. I think he does a very good job. Again, it's that Game of Thrones thing of having these slimy kind of characters you really want to see get done in. I think if I had to pick somebody who's my like the character I hate the most right now, I would say it is Laris. I would say him or Otto Hightower. I think would be my top two for me of like I really want to see get their just dues. What about you?
Oh, yeah, 100%. It's him and Otto that I think are the most despicable characters, or at least the ones that are more outwardly dastardly. With Otto, it's always like this idea of this super just obsessive grab for power at any opportunity, even essentially pimping out his daughter to the king, and also that other Laris Strong who had his own brother and father murdered.
Yeah. And then you see that with Allison, she had children of her own. To get back to her a little
Mhm.
bit, she had what was it? Three kids because she had Helena. Then she had Aegon. And then you'll see another Aegon who that Rhaenyra had with Daemon, her husband uncle.
Mhm.
Uh, and then so they named their kid also
and
Aegon as well. Um, and
and
then
of course, I think the standout of Allison's children is Aemond, who is played in his child version by Leo Ashton, and later in the show by Ewan Mitchell.
yeah, and I think he does. I think out of kind of those kind of three characters of the kids, I think he's one of the most prominent ones that we see so far.
Mhm.
And people are waiting for the face off between him and Damon because they're basically kind of mirror versions of each other almost. You get that, what I mean. Aemon is almost like the younger version of what Damon was that you saw early in the series.
Mhm.
Very kind of brash, hot headed, very, what I mean, good fighter as well. After he lost his eye, he really dedicated himself to becoming this good warrior and then having a dragon. And it's that you see
Mhm.
that it's also they have a lot in common because they're both second brothers. They have they're not really in line for the throne, but
Mhm.
they're in kind of close proximity to it, and they always had to kind of prove themselves to be, what I mean, recognized. I think you see that a lot in both of their kind of shared experiences. What do you kind of think about that of the Aemon character there?
Oh, Aemond, I think, is next to Damon. He's probably one of the more fascinating characters, mostly because you kind of pointed out a lot of the similarities between the two of them. How this kid is basically just younger Damon. He's hot headed, brash. He likes to fight. He's also a little shithead. I mean, he basically claimed a dragon that was just waiting, that was set for another one of the Valerian children.
Yeah. Yeah, he was, and you see that, he got picked on, a lot when he was kind of younger, by the rest of his kind of
Mhm.
family members, cousins, and everything like that. That kind of gave him that
Yeah,
chip.
even his own shithead brother Aegon, who is much more depraved here than what we see in the books.
Yeah. Who is also another really terrible character. He's probably on my list too of people I really want to see get their just dues because you see all the kind of terrible things that kind of he's doing. And then apparently in the books, some people complain that in the show they kind of made him just an out and out psychopath, which he's not. I don't think he is like that in
Mhm.
the books, to my understanding. All that much so, but yeah, the fact that he has all these bastard children, he's a rapist. He makes his bastard children fight in these Fight Club esque children fights and everything like this, where they get turned into like animals almost with their teeth filed down and nails,
Ugh.
it's just that is also, yeah, it's just like damn. um, and you also kind of you get you see kind of what's going on with another character that you got introduced to a little bit at the beginning of the first season and kind of dropped off with and then came back later on was the character that Damon was with early on. Sarah, I think was her name. And she's kind of, I guess you would say she's the, what was that character's name in Game of Thrones? Uh, the one with the bald head. Damn, what was his name?
Oh, like the Varys.
Varys, yeah, she's kind of like the new master of whispers that you kind of see in her using different people in the kingdom, like the people who work for the queen and everything, like to get information and everything like that. So she's kind of she's kind of like I guess you would say the Viserys of the show there, really looking out for more of the downtrodden people in Westeros. Do you ever get a sense like I know this show? It's about the Targaryens. It's about their family and everything like that. Do you ever feel like you just don't get enough of a sense of what day to day life is in Westeros, of what like the regular kind of people think? I think there was that episode where Daemon and Rhaenyra did go out in the town and they were undercover and they kind of did that stuff. But do you ever get a sense that you just don't know really enough about that, like what's kind of going on in daily life in Westeros?
I mean, I could kind of see that. However, we also got 8 seasons of a show that was essentially about like the day-to-day life in Westeros. I think with the benefit of this show is because we already have that where it delved into this like wider range of characters, you can have this series that's a little bit more focused.
Yeah. Yeah, and especially it being, 4 seasons, you don't really have a lot of time to kind of waste here. Of really trying to, like I said, exploring a lot of things and focusing on these kind of core characters here. And it's funny, the people of this show, they didn't give a fuck about those people in King's Landing because, like, they let Rhaenyra jump with that dragon and just basically crush all those people. She said, fuck all those people, and she just rose up with that dragon.
That entire scene, I was just waiting on her to say those fucking magic words, those famous Targaryen words, Dracarys.
Oh,
I love that that this season that episode went out of its way to just declare that Rhaenys Targaryen is 100% that bitch.
Yeah, I thought you were going to see the famous Targaryen line of "Oh yeah," where she just kind of just burst out from the ground. Yeah. Because that's basically what it was. I mean, she just kind of came up and crushed all those people. Like those people there in King's Landing. Which I was. So I heard from somebody who watched, because they do, at the end of each episode, they'll do like the whole thing where, you see the writers and creators talk about the episode and everything like that. And then they were like, I guess with that episode, they were just like, they just thought it would be cool, if she did that, like, it'd be cool if she just, wrote
it was,
and I guess you could also say, and people go like, well, why didn't she just kill him? And I think you could reasonably say you can give some good explanations of, she does say it in the next episode later that it was like, well, it's not really my place to start this war. You know what I mean? Like that would really, even though I guess like if you kill all of them, there would be no war if you just melt all of them.
Yeah, but then there's also all of the other houses that supported Aegon's claim to the throne. Then it's war with them.
Yeah. But I mean, yeah, I guess you could say that. But yeah, so you can make a reasonable explanation of why she didn't just completely just kill them right then and there when she kind of had the opportunity to. But yeah, I mean, she could have just burst it out and just kind of flew away because she stares at them for like a good 2 minutes, maybe a minute and 30, like just like just the dragon and them just looking at them. It's like. It's
a fucking stare down. I'm shocked that cameras weren't like clicking in the background like it's a boxing match.
Yeah, I was expecting like a dialogue tree to come up of like what you kind of want to do, hit a button, you know what I mean? Like yeah, but yeah, I guess you could give a good explanation of why she didn't just kind of kill them right there. Yeah, so with Rhaenys, how do you feel about her in terms of like character wise?
I think character-wise, it takes a little bit for the show to finally present her arc because, like you were saying, she's pretty much gotten over the whole like I should be sitting on the Iron Throne, but so much time has passed. I'm over it now, and it's not until like the 8th episode where she's kind of pointed out that supporting Rhaenyra is kind of correcting that mistake for the realm. and so much of Alicent is trying to like sway her to her side. And I think that is and I think that whole thing is she is like Rhaenyra in that she doesn't want to stick to the status quo. She wants, Rhaenyra to sit the throne because her father, the king, named her his heir.
Yeah. It's funny, bringing up Damon and Aemon and how they kind of share similar, kind of mirror each other. You see that a lot of with Rhaenys and Rhaenyra, where they kind of mirror each other
Mm-hmm.
of being, what I mean, queens that, what I mean, should be probably, rightfully on the Iron Throne, but weren't because of their positions there.
Mm-hmm.
So it's I think they do a good job of kind of mirroring that between them. Yeah, I mean, what do you think about the action of this show? Because that's another thing. Game of Thrones had a lot of great action in it. Battle of the Bastards had great battle
Mm-hmm.
scenes. You do have that here where Damon, he went, just kind of super mode where he killed a lot of those people, like when he went on the crab feeder and everything like that. What do you think about some of the action in this show?
Oh, the action! This is some of the best action, the best medieval action that has been in either this or in Game of Thrones. And I think because with this show, there's not a lot of it, which I think is a good thing. However, when it is, it's filmed really well. It's all very exciting. The choreography is incredible, and towards the last episode, we get a fight involving two dragons that is some of the best cinematography I think if we've ever seen in this show, because we only really saw one scene of dragons actually fighting each other, and that was in the long night, which would have been cool if we could see any of it.
Yeah, and that's like I said, you're gonna have a lot of dragons. There's gonna be a lot of dragon battles coming up in this show, and yeah, I can't wait to see more of that. Yeah, I mean, I think obviously working on Game of Thrones, they have perfected that. Special effects wise, I mean, the dragons look really good.
Mhm.
And
And yeah, and they're not just carbon copies of the three dragons we saw in Game of Thrones. They all have their own little unique tweaks to their design.
yeah, that's a good point. Because a lot of the dragons, like I said, they're not. You have some that are smaller. You have some that have, like I said, a little
Mhm.
skinnier, a little bigger. Especially when you see Aemon's dragon, who is so massive, he's bigger than the whole castle that they go to. And then you see little Jacaerys with his dragon, and it's like a little. It's like that's it. Like his dragon can just fit inside the little courtyard there.
Yeah.
But Aemon's dragon is outside, and it's like almost something that like Godzilla.
It's like perched up on a fucking mountain, and it's like shot all dark and stormy, and it looks like Godzilla in the background, and it's kind of awesome. And even I was like, kid, you better just turn around to walk away. Nope.
Yeah. And even knowing what was going to happen, it still, I think, did a great job at giving you that
Mhm.
tension there of what was happening, of like him trying to do his best to evade it, because it's a smaller dragon, but hey, it's got its advantages.
Mhm.
Being a smaller dragon, it's faster. It can get into more crevices, like you saw, like somebody compared it to like Star Wars. It was like the Millennium Falcon,
Mhm.
like kind of going into
It is,
like
it is it is basically the trench run.
yeah.
And yeah, the ending of this show, because uh Arax and Lucerys, they're like escaping through like this rock formation. Aemond is like talking shit to his nephew, and it seems like he's fine just doing that. But
Mm,
then that little fucking dragon just had to blow some flames into Vhagar.
mm.
And it becomes very clear that as badass as the Targaryens are and how much they have the blood of dragon, there are limits to how much control they have over them.
Yeah, which is interesting that they changed that very much kind of from the book. And I want to get your
Mhm.
opinion on that, because in the book, I mean, Aemon is a little bit more just psychotic about it. I mean, he really just wants revenge, wants to kill Jaehaerys, and just wants to just go after him.
No, it
But
was
he,
Lucerys,
I mean,
Luke.
yeah, Luke Sarris, sorry. And then he really
Mhm.
wants to kind of go after him. But here, just in the show, it just seems like it's just literally he wants eye for an eye. Like he just literally just wants his
Mhm.
eye because he lost an eye, instead of just killing him. And you see, like you said, they don't really have these dragons. They are still beasts. They are still kind of wild animals that you kind of they are somewhat unpredictable on occasion. And then I love that scene where you see it where it's kind of beautiful for a moment where he flies up into the clouds and you see the sun and you think like, oh shit, maybe he got away, and then all of a sudden the dragon comes and just chomp.
Just nom noms on the both of them, and just body parts of that dragon are just strewn about, falling into the sky. And I love that it's a little bit more nuanced than I think Martin wrote them in Fire and Blood. Because I think, as much as Aemond is kind of got of a chip on his shoulder, I like that he's not an out and out psychopath in this. It adds a little bit more depth. It's a little bit more interesting to break down his motivations. I mean, he's a fucking asshole. He wanted to cut out his nephew's eyeball. But he also didn't want him dead.
Yeah. I mean, you see the look on his face of
and
like,
in
oh,
doing
shit.
that, it basically starts the Civil War.
Yeah, and I love the scene too. I mean, there's so many great moments in this too, acting wise, and I love that. I love that scene where Damon tells them, and it's silent, and then you just see Rhaenyra stumble a little bit, and you see her kind of look into the flames, and then you see her kind of look into the camera, and you see the look on her face, and it's just like, man, it's like it's just, shit is on now, And I absolutely just love that. And you think about like that was just such a terrible day for her because she lost her daughter there, stillbirth. Then she lost her son. Then she lost the throne. You know what I mean? It's just like that. Just was like on top of everything. It's just like, damn, that is awful. I mean, the only levity, the only just moment of happiness there was that she did get her father's crown. You know what I mean? Delivered to her, where she, got to be there. But yeah, I mean that just was. I thought that was a great moment there, and like acting wise, another great moment was just Matt Smith throughout this whole season. I see why a lot of people said he was the MVP this season. Just because you could just see through his face. I mean, you could just a lot of facial expressions he was making. Like when he saw his brother when he was sick and dying, it's just like the look on his face. He didn't even need to say anything. I think it conveyed everything, every emotion there through that. And that moment, which I think someone said that was improvised, where you see Viserys when he's trying to go to the throne. You see him, and it's like he's just constant with the cane and everything, and then he drops his crown, and then his brother comes up and picks it up and gives it to him. It's like that was just such a great moment. I thought that was a really great moment. That's probably one of my favorite moments in the series for me. I mean, of the season.
That walk to that Viserys makes to the throne one last time. It is a heartbreaking scene. It's a huge amount of triumph.
Yeah. And I absolutely love that scene. And to see like him, cause he's selling a dispute of, who's going to be the heir of Driftmark, because Corlys Viserion, he's sick. He's possibly going to die. Of course he doesn't die. But I can't say the same for his brother. His brother gets, sliced in half like a pizza. His face gets sliced in half, but, yeah, I mean, and the same thing. I mean, his brother, I mean, he is right. I mean, you know what I mean? I mean, it's like he is correct. I mean, those kids should not be the heir to Driftmark since they aren't Valerian. But it's like, what did you think was gonna happen, dude? Like, that's her dad. Like, you didn't think her dad was gonna take her side? Like, what?
It's like if Read the Room were a person.
Yeah, it's like, bro, you are clearly outnumbered here, bro. Like, just take the L.
And I just love Damon. He's like, no, go ahead.
Yeah, it's like he says, say it, say it, But he said he did say it with his whole chest, though. I gotta admit, he said it with his whole chest. You know what I mean? Because it was like
he was confident that that room was gonna be on his side.
Because it was almost like an episode of Maury. It was like, man, Maury, look at the ears, Maury, look at the eyes, look at the hair, look at the nose. These are not his kids, Maury. Come on, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not crazy. It's like, yeah, I mean, I get it, it's like, yeah, I mean, but it's just like, but you just shouldn't say it, you know what I mean? You really shouldn't say it. And then after that scene, you see a couple scenes later, you see the supper scene, the dinner scene, and a great, I think monologue by Paddy Considine, by him, where he takes off the mask and just is appealing to his family of like, we just got to be together and we got to love each other, put all the pettiness behind us, and just be done with it. Let the incest flow in the family. You know what I mean? Just let it go. Well, he didn't say that, but I thought that scene was absolutely beautiful too. You know what I mean? I
Mm.
absolutely thought that was great. Of course, it,
It's for as many mistakes as Viserys makes, he truly loves his family, and he actually does legitimately wants what's best for the realm. Because in the first episode, we get the monologue that he knows about the prophecy of the Song of Ice and Fire, which it's kind of funny watching that scene in retrospect, because even I'm just watching that his entire monologue, this great threat from the north, and I'm just like, man, don't even worry about that, fam.
yeah. I mean, you know, you see, like you said, because some of the Targaryens have a power where they can see the future. You see that with Helena's character, who's the daughter of Alicent. Like the things she says tend to come true. You know what I mean? She was right about, you know, like Aemon losing an eye for a dragon and everything like that to get a dragon. So, you know, she's, you know, she kind of has that ability as well. And she has the unfortunate thing of being married to Aegon, who's a complete sociopath. But yeah, so some Targaryens have that ability. Yeah, I really enjoyed this series a lot. Did you? What was some? Do you have any like really big weak spots for you with this?
um, and I wouldn't say weak spots. I would say something that is fairly jarring, just in the way that the series is structured, because so much time is being covered in the show. It's like from start to finish, I think we go about like 20 years. And a lot of those time jumps, they are fairly sudden. Like, I think the one between 5 and 6 is the biggest one, and it's the one that is giving us the biggest ask of us as an audience, because these characters because the characters of Rhaenyra and Alicent that we've been following through Millie Alcott and Emily Carey, all of a sudden now they're being played by two completely different actors. For what to credit to the show, the actors, they're seamless in it. It's just that I think the time jumps, so much happens in between that we aren't really given hinted at. Very much like what you were saying with Creston Cole, where he gets rejected, he kills a guy, and then all of a sudden he's like the most biggest petty incel asshole in the entire world.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like taking it out on her kids, which is fucked.
yeah. Yeah, I think some of the things, and like, you know, when like with Rhaenyra, where she's with the strong guy, and then they have the three kids together, and then he ends up dying. It's just like, you know, you don't
Mhm.
really feel maybe all that much, because, you know, it's just like you don't really have that much of an attachment to the character, because he just, I mean, you really get introduced to him in the episode basically he dies in, almost, or the next
Mhm.
episode. So yeah, it's kind of what some of the things with the time jumps, and I understand, because again, this is going to be a short series and you got to kind of hurry up here. But yeah, I think a lot of the actors, when they do the time jumps and they become the older versions, I think you can say it is seamless. Emma Darcy, Olivia Cook, do a very good job at playing the older versions of the character, and you can see it. You can see them as kind of the older
Mhm.
versions of the people. And they still, even after all these years, you see that they still kind of have the love for each other. Like, you know, the scene where, you know, that Otto Hightower tries to offer a negotiation, and he gives her the page of the book from Alicent, and that just kind of, you know, that kind of, you know, she reminisces about the time that she spent with her under the tree, and, you know what I mean, simpler times. And again, I think you see that on Emma Darcy's face there when she's kind of looking at it. I thought that was really well done. Of course, in that scene, Damon's gonna be Damon. I mean, he's got some of the best kind of one liners there. You know, Damon's gonna be Damon. Yeah, so I think that was kind of one of my really only big issues with some of the time jumps, because I would have liked to maybe get to know a little bit more of the Valerians, a little bit more, like Lena Valerian. So that was just some of my kind of smaller issues with it. But, you know, now that we kind of have our cast for the foreseeable future of, you know, everything kind of going on
Mhm.
with it, and kind of be introduced more, I think, yeah, it's gonna be good to explore more of these kind of characters, see where things go. Yeah. So for me, I would give it a strong tune in. House of the Dragon. Liked it quite a bit. Hey, I mean, hey, it renewed people's interest in Game of Thrones again. When
Yeah.
people thought they were done with Game of Thrones, they came
It,
back.
it got everybody excited to go back to Westeros again. And I think, from my rating, I think I think the early episodes are almost a little bit too similar to Game of Thrones, but as the show goes on, as we get more time with the characters, with the time jumps, as the political intrigue gets more and more intricate, I think House of the Dragon does a great job of establishing its own identity separate from Game of Thrones. I give this a very strong tune in as well.
Nice, nice. Two strong tune-ins for House of the Dragons, and we won't get season 2 until 2025 or 20
I think
2025.
they said they're shooting it in 2023, dude.
Yeah. So yeah, because they said well, it takes 2 years. I think it was coming out right in 2 years, right? So 2025. Right. That's when we're getting it, right? Or 2024. I thought it was
I
2025.
think 2024 is when we get it.
Oh, 2024. Okay. So getting hit 2024. Okay. Yeah, because they have to shoot it and they have to do the special effects on it because you got all those dragons and everything like that. So yeah, yeah. So I thought, yeah, okay. So 2024. All right.
Yeah, this show ain't cheap.
Yeah. I mean, it's the one thing that Warner Brothers has got going for him is Game of Thrones. That's one thing that's working so far. That's kind of one thing that's kind of going good for them so far. Game of Thrones. Now I guess this opens the door more to more Game of Thrones spinoffs. Like if you want to do like Dunkin' and Egg, or you want to do, I think there's like they want to do maybe a cartoon series. They want to do,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. They're talking about a cartoon. They're talking about following Jon Snow beyond the wall. I think there was talk about an Arya Stark led one, which okay.
yeah, where she's like a pirate or something like that, or something. Yeah, yeah, something like that. Yeah, she's gonna be the new Jack Sparrow. She's gonna be around. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, yeah, we'll see. We will see. I think that like you made a point about this show being like kind of similar to Game of Thrones. It's like if you do another spinoff of Game of Thrones, it's like how often can you keep doing like the whole character who is a backstabber character who's spreading lies, and like Lysaris, who's kind of like damn, I'm blanking on his name, Littlefinger, and then you have like a Viserys type character who he's talking to all these other people in the town, using kids to whisper and spread lie. I mean, to listen on conversations, like how often can you do that formula? You know what I mean, of people who do that, and before it gets kind of tiresome, is interesting.
Absolutely, and it's something that I hope the showrunner takes into account when they're working on season 2, because I think Miguel Sapochnik, he's still a producer and he's still directing some episodes of it, but he's not a showrunner anymore.
Okay, interesting.